I love it. Let's talk about LCS, actual LCS games this week, because, oh boy, Thorin, did we have some terrible LCS games.
I'm going to say moratorium on Dom and all the streamers saying LEC is total shit. You mean Team Liquid games are better than LEC. The rest of them are a fucking nightmare. Are you kidding me right now? Are you mental? By the way, Team Cloud9 can play just as bad as Fnatic. I don't know what we're even talking about at this point in time. And once you go below that, by the way, holy fuck. Like, once you go to that Dig, FlyQuest, 100 Thieves, that level is nightmare fuel, mate. Like, it's one of those times when I almost wish we had the older LCS format because there's too many shit games. Like, I love Double Limb, but man alive, is it a slog with these teams?
I mean, I don't love Double Limb in the LCS, especially when we're getting 60% of the league still in the playoffs. I mean, well, actually, it's more than that. Just kidding. There are only 8 teams in the LCS now, and 6 of them, get into playoffs. Just like, well, not quite as many by percentage as 8 out of 10 before, but you know, I mean, it's still pretty ridiculous, Thorin. Like when we're looking at this, and obviously, like Dignitas was coming in as the higher seed, but I mean, they certainly fooled a lot of people as to their status within this league. And, you know, Dignitas is very interesting to me because they swapped out most of the team heading into Summer Split. And obviously we're willing to spend at least some amount of money to do this, because I don't think some of these players probably would have played for league minimum. So Dignitas was trying to throw, you know, a certain amount of money around. And we've been over before how the LCS teams
surely don't, though, you know. Surely someone like him's getting a decent wage.
Yeah, and the LCS team's stipends went up this year. They're going down next year, don't worry. And so a lot of teams were able to pay players like pretty halfway decently, not the outrageous amounts that some players were getting previously, but like you can make a good like couple $100K and you know the teams are still profitable after the stipend and after you pay for coaches and housing and everything like that. So you know what these Dignitas guys are making, who knows? But like you look at this roster and they started out strong because it was a bunch of veteran players, but there is no real identity to this team at the end of the day. I think a lot of their drafts have been like really quite bad. They seem like super reliant on specific champions and will pick them almost no matter of the circumstances. I mean, even the regular season, we saw Dignitas go up against Team Liquid, and they literally picked Kalista in the Cassiopeia, which is probably one of the most nightmare champions for Kalista to deal with, but they really just like having Kalista in that bot lane no matter what, and fuck it. It doesn't matter if she's going to hit Cassiopeia in a fight in the mid game and then not be able to move and take a bazillion damage from Cassiopeia. I guess that doesn't really matter to them. But Dignitas, man, like even like Licorice, who was doing very well last year and then had to split off, he was very bad in this playoff series. Jensen was absolutely miserable. He just can't adapt at all to, I would say, any new champions, but especially like this AD carry mid meta. Like this has been deeply unkind to him. And I mean, Sven has looked like pretty good at times, but I would say he's like the bright spot out of the veterans on this roster. And there isn't any like core identity to this team. And it was just sad. It was sad to watch them, and 100 Thieves just completely bowled them over from the laning phase. I mean, Jensen like dying at level 1 in a Zeri Smolder matchup. What the fuck is that? How is that even remotely acceptable?
Oh.
You know, and I also
the thing is, I agree with you. The biggest problem in this team is you look at the names and you're like, bro, you only need like 2.5 players to turn up. They're going to be good. Sometimes they all don't turn up. It's actually wild. They're almost like fool's gold. Like you look at the roster, you think, come on, this should surely be the 3rd or 4th best team. But actually, they never have actually looked good so far. They've never got it together. They just flat to deceive at the beginning of the split, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those teams that came out really hot because they have a bunch of veteran players. But I mean, these players, it is difficult to watch Jensen these days because his play is it's been abysmal. Like it's been pretty bad the entire time since he's like came back from his break, and he's never really found his groove or his ability to like widen his champion pool and be a competitive mid laner. I mean, it's going to take a miracle.
By the way, The problem he has is this. For me, he's always gone into that Froggen category where it's like you're a bit uncoachable because you didn't need to be coached. You were just the guy who did your style, you did your job, you're one of the best. In fact, you're usually a league MVP. And so what happens is if you join a team, people sort of learn. There's no point even complaining about him in the VOD review. He does his thing, and then we sort of like take the compromise and we do what we can, and then we try and help the team win, and he's the carry. The problem with players like that is when they're not the main carry and they're not the best anymore, they actually tend to be quite bad, I've found, at taking like coaching advice and actually changing up their game. They're not going to like transform their game and roam all of a sudden, or be the guy who maybe I just play safe and I don't gamble in lane, I don't go for the kills, etc. So I think that's one of the problems is you've seen over these last few years, he's not him anymore. And he's still sort of, I don't know. You can never tell from interviews. They're all good at interviews now. You can never really tell. Does he still think he is? Is he delusional? Is he one of these people who makes, does he know he's doing badly? You can't really get a sense. I think they're a bit inscrutable in that sense.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, I think this team is just a mess, and it's a bummer because it feels like Dignitas really actually wanted to try, and that this is the result. But I will say that the GMing for Dignitas, even when they have spent money, has always been really off. And they haven't. Garbage. Yeah, we haven't put it, even when they've like been willing to spend at least even on when they some sign level.
Players, it's like this. The roster never works. You know what I mean? They've had rosters that were okay. Remember that one with like Afromoo and Froggen and fucking Hooney? Like that's all looked good, but it didn't work. It didn't work.
Yep. So I don't know, man. Like I don't think this org. I think this means that the org probably isn't going anywhere. Because I don't think you sign a roster like this if you are planning to leave LCS. I think it's much more likely that 100 Thieves and Immortals end up leaving.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.